Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. So you can see we have a courtyard beside me, and this belongs to Abdimachi, a local resident. And this is a very special day for him because today he and his livestock will embark on a journey of migration to pastures for spring and autumn. And each year at around this time, they are running out of supplies. So that is why they have to embark on a journey of migration. And this year we expect 1.2 million livestock will step on this journey of migration. And in a pasture region, this migration will take longer. And in the villages, and this will take shorter because they can have some supplies with the tree leaves. And we expect that this migration will last until mid and late May. So this is a village at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, but we have an altitude of 2,600 meters. And for the herders to migrate, they have to arrive at a spring pastoral region that has an altitude of 3,600 meters. So this is to say that they have to push the flocks of sheep from a low altitude region into a higher altitude pastoral region. So for the herdsmen, each and every year, the spring migration is a very important milestone. And before the migration, they will make sure that they are prepared, because on a journey of migration, they can expect diverse climates while climbing the slopes. And as the altitude grows, and the air gets thinner and the temperature drops. So we're talking about very rugged terrains, and this is posing great challenge to the local herders and for the flocks of sheep, and this will be a test of their stamina and their strength. And before the migration, the local livestock authority and the local herders, they have been making all sorts of preparations. And the family I'm at, they have 500 sheep. These sheep, they owned collectively by the head of the household and his brother. And they have to prepare some food, some necessary supplies. How are they doing with this preparation? Well, before we get to that, we have a guest who is the deputy head of the Chaha Township. And let's say hello to the deputy head of the township. So please say hello to our viewers. Good afternoon to all the viewers of CMG. My name is Ai Zizi. I'm the deputy head of Chaha Town of Cele County of Xinjiang. So we have seen not just sheep flocks, and we see a horse, and we also have a donkey. So what are their roles to play in a migration journey? Well, we do have some mechanic supports, but we're talking about a very long distance, and in some of the sections, we cannot use a vehicle, so we just embrace this long tradition of relying on the horse and donkey, and they can help transport some daily necessities and supplies, which is more convenient. I can see that the quilt is now tied to the horseback, and the donkey is carrying 2 baskets of water. Is that water? Well, these 2 baskets, they are very important support tools, and they will, of course, carry some water. And when they arrive at the pastoral region, they will be living in tents temporarily, And in Kunlun Mountains, you have to go to low-lying regions to claim and fetch the water. And they will have to use this basket to fetch the water and to bring the water to their tent so that they can cook. So water is indispensable for all the herders and shepherds. And I can see that on this table, all the items are well sorted and they are ready to be loaded on the horsebacks. So tell us something about the daily necessities that they need to prepare for. Well, first they have to prepare some food. We have naan, we have nuts. So these are the favorite food of the herders, and they also bring with themselves some milk. So this can be a very simple breakfast, and they also bring with themselves some fruits and dried tea, or the locals call it the break tea, and they like to drink tea water with sugarcane. So this is very delicate preparation, and this is naan, the very famous food in Xinjiang. It's easily portable, and it can be stored for a very long time. So this is a must in their cuisine. So prior to the migration, the lady of that family would make sure that all those items are well prepared, and when these items are sorted out on a table, and they will put them into the two bags, which will end up on the horseback. And they also bring some clothing, because we're talking about very high altitude at the Kunlun Mountains, and there is a big temperature difference in the day and in the evening, so it's very necessary that they bring with themselves some clothing, and they need to also bring some food oil, because they're going to cook some delicious food when they arrive there. And they also bring some mutton, and they can drink some mutton soup. And here you can see that they have some condiments and seasonings such as salt and some basic drugs. So these are the very commonly seen items, and when they have a cold, and they can get cured with the drugs that they prepare, and this is just how they go about preparing for this migration. So this is very rich, actually, and you can see a wide variety of all types of items. So how long will the journey cost? I heard that it will be September before they come back, and so we're talking about a very long span of time. And are you sure that they are bringing a sufficient amount of clothing and food? How do they support themselves during these several months? So how can they come back to this station to get themselves resupplied? Well, traditionally, once they arrive at the grazing land, and they seldom come back for a resupply. But right now, as the party and the government have rolled out a lot of preferential policies, with the improvement of livelihood in this region, transportation has become more convenient. The herders, and they can come back very quickly, very easily with a motorbike, and in between 1 or 2 weeks, they can come back very quickly to get themselves resupplied, and they can bring more food and more supplies, and then return to their pastoral region. And motorbikes are very convenient, and it's also working very well on those rugged terrains. So when the herders come back for a resupply, who takes care of their sheep flocks? Well, they normally come back in the night and return back the next morning. So this is a very safe window period, and they have a very large area in a pastoral region, and it's very seldom that some of the sheep go missing. And they are mainly concerned about some wild animals such as wolves, who may prey on their sheep and animals and livestock. If the sheep gets into sickness, and if this is not well taken care of immediately, some of the diseases, they are infectious, and there can be a wide contagion in the flock. So also very ideally, because during the night, the sheep flocks would stand still. So when they arrive at the spring pastoral land, it's relatively secure and safe. And now you can see that all the items are well sorted out on the table. And now let's take a look at the sheep flocks. Are those adorable ones ready? Well, I can see that they are leaving marks on the sheep. And why do they do that? Well, because once the sheep is out of their home, on the journey of migration, and there will be mix-ups with other flocks of sheep. So you have to identify your own livestock, and you cannot just rely on your naked eye. In order for you to very quickly identify your own livestock, and you need to make some marks on their ears. So what kind of marks do they leave on the sheep? Well, this is quite flexible, and this is also quite customized. And well, let's take a look at how they mark their own flocks of sheep. Well, Abdul Amati is spraying paint on the back of the sheep. You can see that this group of sheep is well marked, and they just draw a line with the paint that is very close to the tail, and you can see that with this simple mark, they can make a distinction between their own livestock and that of others. And so you can either leave a mark on the head or on the back or near the tail, because that gives those are very conspicuous signs that you can recognize no matter from which angle. And you can see that the spring red paint on the back near the tail. So what are the other marks available here? Well, we do have a wide range of marking methods, but this is based on their own experience and their own preferences. The simplest and most common way is to spray a paint, and bear in mind that we have many different colors of the paint. And also you can leave a different shape of the paint, and sometimes they can leave a paint in the shape of a dot or a circle. And for this herder, and they simply draw a straight line. But traditionally, they would use a string and tie the wool of the sheep. And so this is how they identify their own flocks of sheep in the past, but now it has changed. So after those flocks of sheep are marked, they will later be transferred on a truck. And I heard that we are going to travel roughly 100 kilometers, and these sheep flocks, they will be transported to a region that has an altitude of 3,500 meters. So this is quite challenging. So how do you ensure that the sheep has enough stamina to arrive at the pastoral region? Well, for this herding family, they are using a combined methodology of both vehicle-based and traditional migration, and you can see that the trucks are ready. And so this is a different truck, different from the ones that I saw in the past, and we have handrails. Is this so designed to ensure safety? Yes, we have handrails so that the sheep, they can climb up very safely and they won't jump elsewhere, so that they won't hurt themselves. And also, these trucks were having double dunker design so that it can carry more sheep, so with the 2 layers design. So what is the loading capacity for this truck? Normally, well, based on their experience, they control the loading capacity to between 80 and 100, and up the Ahmadi, normally they put 80 sheep on one truck, because if you put more sheep in, if you put too many sheep in one truck, you will have security and safety concerns, because it might be bumpy road, and the sheep, they might suffocate in the journey. So that is why they control very strictly the number of sheep on one single truck. So do we have uniform standard for the loading capacity of the truck? Well, normally we turn to use trucks of this size, and we have bigger ones, but those are not very common. And we have to have buses that can conquer the bumpy road. For Abdul Ahmadi, they are raising 500 sheep, and I heard that they are only transporting 300 today, and they also have some lambs and some pregnant sheep, which will not be transported today. Does that mean that they will have another day of transportation? For today, they're just transporting those well-grown sheep. For the pregnant sheep and the lambs, well, because the Kunlun Mountains have just started to thaw, and the grassland isn't that ready. But because if the lamb take in the green grass, and they will have digestion problems, so they will have to be raised here for 1 month until the grazing land become more suitable for them. And also, we are talking about very fine-tuned time window of transportation. So you can see that this is truly tricky, and this is challenging from a technical perspective. And so we have a 2-layer structure bus, and you can see we also have a ramp with handrails. But this is designed as such to ensure safety of the loading process. So this is like a ramp, but with letters on it. So this is making the loading and unloading process much easier. So they can save a lot of manpower. In this way, you don't need to carry each and every sheep onto the truck. So today I can see that we have some helping hands, and one of them has gone well, and maybe they are a little bit scared, And so is it very hard to control the sheep flock? Well, yes, because even though they go through this process every year, but for some of the sheep, they are experiencing this for the first time, and so that's why they got a little bit nervous when they get loaded on the truck. And if you don't control that very well, you can have some chaoses. And if you don't have the handrail, some of the sheep, they will simply run away, and this will pose a lot of difficulty and challenge for this loading process. So how many flocks of sheep from this town will be transported to the spring pastoral region? So we have a total of 150,000 sheep, and right now the number is only increasing, and the number of sheep subject to migration is about 100,000 for this year. So your township is heavily dependent on grazing. Yes, and this is decided by our terrain and by our climate. Historically, we have been a town that is dependent on the husbandry business. And we have a very large number of sheep and cattle, and we even have camels, Xinjiang donkey, and in Chaha Township, we are known for the Hetian sheep, and we have a Hetian sheep preservation site, and also Hetian donkey preservation site. So we are a major township known for its cattle business. So during migration, what is the most common means of transportation? Well, in the past, they simply herd the goats and walk to the destination, but in recent years, as I have mentioned, transportation has become much easier. The roads are getting better, and that is why most herders, they would rely on a truck, and a truck would be assigned to bring the sheep to the pastoral region. But some of the sections, the road is very rugged and bumpy, so we have to unload all the sheep onto the ground, and then they have to walk to the pastoral region, if that is the case. So in this process, those herders, they can receive a lot of support from the local authorities, and they check the process throughout the entire journey, and they also give them a lot of reminders from a safety perspective. They give medical support to the livestock along the way. So put simply, along the journey of migration, we have medical support and other supportive measures provided by the local livestock authority. Yes, the local authority for animal husbandry is service-oriented, and we do not spend all the time in our offices. And we are visible at where the sheep and cattle are, and so even at the grazing land, and we set up some temporary service stations so that we can provide some very convenient services. And when herders are staying at one place, and we bring them together and give them lectures. We spread the knowledge about how to fight epidemics among the livestock, and when they encounter some emergencies, who should they report to, what is the reporting line like, and what is the reporting channels. Well, this is very impressive, and you can see that the first truck of sheep is ready to go, as introduced by the deputy head of the town. And this herder, they are selecting a combined method of both of using both vehicles and the traditional means of migration. And life has become much better for the herders, and that is why more and more shepherds, they relying on a vehicle. But when they get to some rugged sections of the road, and they will no longer be able to use the trucks, and that is why they have to unload the sheep and then rely on their feet. So this truck that we see just now, they don't directly or they don't simply transport all the sheep into the final destination because somewhere along their migration journey, and they will have to stop at the temporary supply sites. It is at those temporary supply sites that all the sheep get vaccinated and they will get resupplied. And so these trucks, they're not just used by this herding family. They are widely used by all the herders in this place. And you can see that the herders, they are busy marking their own livestock. And when all the three trucks are fully loaded, and Ahmad Ati will travel with his brother to the final destination of the pastoral region. So with this, let's conclude today's program and stay tuned to this spring migration in Kunlun Mountains. Thank you very much.